A biblical-level plague is now hit Mecca. The question being asked, is this a divine message?
The entire internet is abuzz with discussions lately regarding the presence of swarms of strange insects that have just invaded the Kaaba in Mecca, a site of immense religious significance to the Muslim population worldwide. This recent event has caused widespread concern and sparked a significant debate. What were these insects? Why did they swarm one of the holiest places in Islam? Could this be a natural occurrence? Or does it have any divine implication? Join us as we explore this fascinating incident, exploring its various aspects and the profound questions it raises.
It sounds biblical, but as the world grapples with the COVID pandemic, the continent of Africa is facing another plague, locusts.
According to Islamic tradition, the Kaaba was originally built by Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael. Over the centuries, this ancient building has undergone numerous reconstructions. Yet, it remains a symbol of unity for Muslims, pointing them toward a common direction for prayer, no matter where they are in the world. The city of Mecca is also renowned as the birthplace of Prophet Muhammad, making it a site of profound historical and spiritual importance. The impact of Prophet Muhammad on Islam is huge. His life and teachings significantly shaped Islam, turning Mecca into a symbol of Islamic faith. Just recently, the news broke of strange insects invading the Kaaba, which has terrified Muslims. Some believe that these strange insects were locusts. But what are locusts? They are a type of grasshopper known for their swarming behavior and ability to travel long distances. They have strong hind legs for jumping and wings for flying. Locusts are typically solitary but can become social and form massive swarms under certain conditions, such as changes in weather and availability of food. These swarms can cover vast areas and consume large amounts of crops and vegetation, causing significant agricultural damage. Locusts have a life cycle that includes egg, nymph, and adult stages. They are found in many parts of the world, including Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Although Mecca can be home to their breed, it is mostly home to sacred rituals. One of the most critical practices associated with Mecca is the Hajj pilgrimage. Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is a mandatory religious duty for Muslims that must be carried out at least once in their lifetime by all adult Muslims who are physically and financially capable of undertaking the journey. During Hajj, millions of Muslims from around the globe gather in Mecca in a display of faith, unity, and solidarity. The rituals of Hajj include tawaf, where pilgrims circle the Kaaba 7 times, reenacting the actions believed to have been performed by Abraham and Ishmael. This ritual highlights the significance of the Kaaba not just as a physical structure, but as a symbol of their faith's foundations. The recent invasion of insects, be it locusts or other types at such a sacred site, therefore, holds a lot of weight. To the believers, these events aren't just random occurrences. They could signify divine messages or warnings. This perspective stems from a deep-rooted belief in the interconnectedness of natural events and spiritual meanings. In Islamic tradition, every aspect of life, including natural phenomena, is brimming with potential lessons or messages from God. In a broader context, such incidents also highlight the importance of environmental and ecological balance. The sudden upsurge of insects in Mecca might also be pointing towards larger issues like climate change and its impact on natural habitats, which is a concern for everyone, regardless of religious beliefs. Let's first look at the natural explanations. Locusts are known for their massive swarms and ability to travel long distances, often driven by weather conditions and environmental changes. In the case of Mecca, heavy rainfall in the region could have created ideal conditions for locusts to thrive and multiply. These insects are attracted to moist environments which provide them with plenty of food and breeding grounds. The transformation of arid lands into lush green spaces after the rains would be like a feast for them. So, from a scientific point of view, the invasion could simply be a natural response to favorable weather conditions. However, this story has another side, deeply rooted in religious and spiritual beliefs. In several religious texts, locusts have been depicted as symbols of God's wrath. So, when such a swarm invades a place as significant as Mecca, it's not surprising that many would interpret it as more than just an ecological event. For believers, it could be seen as a reminder of divine power, a call for introspection, or even a test of faith. The locust invasion in Mecca can be viewed through 2 different lenses. the scientific perspective that sees it as a natural occurrence driven by ecological factors, and the religious viewpoint that interprets it as a symbol of something greater, possibly a divine message or warning. Whichever angle one chooses to look at it from, the event undeniably captures attention and invites a deeper reflection on the intricate connections between our physical world and spiritual beliefs. Starting with the Exodus, locusts appear as one of the 10 plagues sent by God upon Egypt. In this context, they were a divine instrument, a physical manifestation of God's power and anger against Pharaoh's stubbornness. The plague of locusts wasn't just about causing destruction. It was a sign, a push for Pharaoh to release the Israelites from slavery. Imagine an unstoppable, devouring force sweeping over the land, eating every plant and crop in sight. That's how the Bible describes this plague, total devastation, as a consequence of disobedience to God. It's a powerful image that stuck with people over centuries, symbolizing how dire the consequences of defying divine will can be. Then there's the Book of Joel, where locusts take on a symbolic role. Here, a locust plague ravages the land, which Joel interprets as a warning from God. The swarms of locusts in Joel's prophecy vividly depict the destruction that sin can bring into our lives. They consume everything in their path, leaving nothing but emptiness and despair. Much like unchecked sin can ravage a person's life, Joel uses this imagery to call people to repentance, urging them to return to God and escape the destructive path of sin. It's a call to recognize one's wrongdoings and seek forgiveness, with locusts serving as a reminder of what could happen if people continue to stray from God's path. These biblical narratives have left a lasting impression and continue to influence how people interpret events like the Locust Invasion in Mecca. For some, it's a reminder of these ancient stories and the powerful messages they carry about human behavior, divine judgment, and the need for repentance. Whether one sees this event as a mere coincidence or a sign of something greater, the symbolism of locusts in the Bible provides a rich context for reflection on our actions and their potential consequences. It's like these stories from the past are speaking to us today, reminding us to examine our lives and realign with what's truly important. In Revelation, locusts are not just insects causing havoc, but symbolic creatures with a deeper, more ominous meaning. They emerge in the context of the end times, a period marked by trials, tribulations, and God's final judgment. When the fifth trumpet sounds, John describes a horde of locusts. But these are no ordinary locusts. They are said to have the power of scorpions to torment those who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Unlike the natural locusts that devour crops, these locusts are instructed not to harm the grass of the earth or any green thing, but only those people who are not sealed by God. Lastly, the locusts tie into the theme of redemption. The torment they bring is a call for humanity to recognize its wrongdoings and turn back to God. It's a last chance, so to speak, for people to align themselves with divine will before the final judgment. This idea of redemption is central to the Christian faith, the belief that even in the darkest times, there's hope for salvation if one chooses to follow the path of righteousness. So, when we hear about locusts invading a place as significant as the Kaaba in Mecca, it's no surprise that some minds might leap to these biblical passages. Whether one sees these events as direct fulfillments of prophecy or symbolic reminders, the imagery of locusts in the Bible, especially in the book of Revelation, provides deep meanings, all pointing towards the need for introspection, repentance, and the hope for redemption in such times. In today's fast-paced world, where science and technology reign, how do we interpret events like the Locust Invasion in Mecca? Are they mere coincidences of nature, or do they hold deeper spiritual meanings? The answer varies greatly, depending on who you ask, and it reflects the diverse ways we, as a society, understand and process such phenomena. For many in the scientific community, an event like this is a matter of ecological and environmental factors. It's a logical, fact-based approach that seeks to explain the how without delving into the why. However, for those with a spiritual or religious inclination, especially within the Christian faith, such events might resonate differently. They could be seen as modern-day parallels to the biblical stories of locusts, carrying with them warnings or messages from a higher power. This isn't to say that every believer sees a divine hand in every unusual event, but for some, these incidents are moments of reflection, a chance to ponder on the state of the world and our role in it. The significance of these events in today's world, particularly for Christians, can be profound. In a time where many feel disconnected from spiritual matters, occurrences like these can serve as a wake-up call, a reminder of the biblical teachings about humility, repentance, and the need to maintain a strong moral compass. It's a perspective that encourages looking beyond the material world and considering the spiritual implications of our actions and lifestyles. From a moral and spiritual standpoint, events like the Locust Invasion can be powerful metaphors for the consequences of our collective actions, especially in terms of environmental impact and how we treat our planet. It's an opportunity to reflect on the concept of stewardship, the idea that we're all responsible for taking care of the earth and its resources. In a broader sense, it's a call to action, to live in a way that's harmonious with our environment and considerate of future generations. Insect invasions are not a new phenomenon, though. In fact, history is dotted with similar events. Take, for instance, the Locust Invasion that hit East Africa and parts of the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia. These events are not just random occurrences, they are often the result of specific natural causes. The life cycle and breeding patterns of locusts play a major role in these invasions. Typically, locusts thrive in wet conditions. Heavy rains can lead to the growth of vegetation, providing ample food for locusts and creating ideal conditions for them to breed in large numbers. When the population becomes too dense, locusts transform behaviorally, becoming more gregarious, and they start forming swarms that travel long distances to find food. It's a survival mechanism, but one that can have devastating effects on agriculture and local ecosystems. The 2019 to 2021 East Africa locust invasion presents a compelling example of one of the most severe locust plagues in recent history. This crisis began in 2019, when an unusual bout of heavy rainfall and cyclones enabled unprecedented breeding conditions for desert locusts in the Arabian Peninsula. The locusts rapidly multiplied and, driven by strong winds, swarmed across the Red Sea into the Horn of Africa, devastating countries like Ethiopia, Somalia, and Kenya. By early 2020, the situation had escalated dramatically. The locust swarms, some covering areas as large as cities, ravaged crops and pastures in a region already grappling with high levels of food insecurity. The swarms were immense in size and number, with billions of locusts consuming vast quantities of vegetation, potentially threatening the livelihoods of millions of people. Efforts to combat the invasion included aerial spraying of pesticides, which was the most effective method, but raised environmental and health concerns. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic significantly hindered control and relief efforts due to restrictions on movement and supply chain disruptions. In Ethiopia alone, the desert locust outbreak resulted in the loss of 356,286 metric tons of cereal, along with the destruction of 197,163 hectares of cropland and 1,350,000 hectares of pasture lands. This devastation led to more than 1 million Ethiopians needing food assistance. The World Bank estimated that in East Africa and Yemen alone, the damages and losses could amount to as much as $8.5 billion. Additionally, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, requested an additional $78.4 million to sustain locust surveillance and control activities, highlighting the scale of the crisis and the resources required for effective management. Similar environmental factors were likely at play in Mecca, where heavy rains could have prompted a surge in the local insect population. But beyond the science, these invasions often stir up spiritual and religious contemplation. For people of faith, particularly in traditions steeped in biblical lore, such events can be seen as more than just natural occurrences. They can be interpreted as signs or messages, prompting reflection on our actions and their impact on the world. In Christianity, as well as other faiths, natural phenomena are sometimes viewed through a spiritual lens, providing an opportunity for introspection and a call to align more closely with moral and ethical principles. This perspective doesn't negate the scientific understanding of these events, but complements it. Recognizing the natural causes of insect invasions helps us to address them more effectively and prevent future occurrences. At the same time, considering the spiritual implications can lead to a deeper understanding of our place in the world and our responsibilities towards it. In the Christian faith, the idea of the second coming of Christ is a cornerstone belief. one that influences how believers live their daily lives. Recent events like the Locust Invasion in Mecca often stir up conversations about this anticipated event. While interpretations vary, one common thread is the emphasis on vigilance and readiness. Being vigilant means being aware of the signs of the times. It's not about predicting dates or times, as the Bible clearly states that no one knows the exact moment of Christ's return. Instead, it's about understanding the nature of our world and our role in it from a spiritual perspective. It's about recognizing the moral and ethical shifts in society, environmental changes, and other global events, and contemplating their spiritual significance. For Christians, this vigilance is coupled with the responsibility of interpreting these signs in the context of their faith. It's about seeing beyond the surface and understanding that events like natural disasters, wars, and even unusual phenomena like locust swarms can have deeper meanings. These are not necessarily direct messages from above, but they can serve as reminders of the transient nature of our world and the importance of focusing on spiritual matters. Preparing for the second coming also means reflecting on one's spiritual journey. It's a personal call to assess one's faith, actions, and readiness to meet Christ. This introspection is not meant to induce fear or anxiety, but to encourage a deeper relationship with God. It's about asking oneself, am I living according to the teachings of Christ? Am I loving my neighbor, caring for the needy, and walking with integrity? This isn't just about attending church or participating in religious rituals. It's about the transformation of the heart and mind, living out one's faith in everyday actions. It's about being a light in the world, showing love, grace, and compassion to others, just as Christ did. Let's focus on what this means for us in terms of faith and action. Events like these, whether seen as natural phenomena or signs with deeper meanings, offer an opportunity for all of us to deepen our faith and understanding. Firstly, such occurrences remind us of the importance of vigilance in our spiritual lives. They serve as a call to look beyond the immediate and the material, encouraging us to seek deeper understanding and guidance in facing life's challenges. It's a chance to reflect on how we interpret the signs of our times through the lens of our faith. For those who follow Christ, this is a moment to ponder on our readiness for His return. It's not about predicting when this will happen, but rather preparing our hearts and minds, living each day with integrity and love as He taught us. This preparation involves not just personal introspection, but also action, reaching out to others, sharing love, and living out the values of our faith in the world around us. The concept of preparing for the second coming in Christianity is about living a life of purpose, guided by faith, and a deep sense of responsibility towards God and fellow humans. It's a journey of constant growth, learning, and striving to embody the values and principles taught by Jesus Christ. Whether or not one believes that events like the Locust Invasion are signs of the times, they can serve as catalysts for spiritual reflection and renewal, reminding us of the bigger picture and our place within it. Thanks for exploring with us on Beyond Discovery. If you enjoyed these revelations, click now on the next video that pops up on your screen. It's unbelievable